Thank you everybody for joining today, the Kitty Talks webinar on setting up success and how the right e-commerce partners can help your brand make the most of peak periods. I'm Rob, I'm the MD of We Are Kitty. For anyone that doesn't know us, we are TP Group's web design and development agency. So we support brands through every kind of journey, from initial planning and ideation through to full site design and build, maintenance and ongoing support. If throughout today's webinar you have any questions, please just ask in the comments section, because we'll be doing a brief Q&A at the end. So just quickly moving on to the purpose of today, we're going to be talking about ensuring that you have the right e-commerce partners in place to enable your brand to maximize its potential during peak periods. Joining me to discuss the topics are Kitty partners Angus Blest, who's Head of Commercial Partnerships from Adyen, and Deepak Anand, who's the Senior Director of Strategic and Commercial Partnerships at BigCommerce. Hi guys, how are you?
Hi Rob, nice to be here.
Hey Rob, hey guys, how are you doing?
Yeah, really good.
Awesome. So I think as everyone here today will know, e-commerce has been growing rapidly since the turn of the millennium. And then the onset of the COVID pandemic has really been a catalyst, pushing an even greater number of people to shop online whilst isolating or adhering to government lockdown guidance. In the UK, we saw COVID-19 caused about 5 years of e-commerce growth to happen in just 5 weeks back in March 2020. And then this year, the internet sales as a percentage of total retail sales hit a new peak, a monthly peak of 37.1%. And that's before Black Friday or Christmas have even happened. So, there's I'm sure everyone here knows this, but there's absolutely no doubt in our minds that, e-commerce is growing and growing, and it's not going to be, things aren't going to change. So therefore, more so than ever, retailers must ensure that they are set up for future success, not just in the immediate short term with the festive season looming, but also beyond. The importance of having the right e-commerce partners has never been greater. So I'll jump into the first round of questions. So Angus, naturally in business and in life, we always aim to work with the best people and tools around us or available to us. But perhaps you could elaborate on the importance of brands to choose the right e-commerce partners and the benefits the right mix of partners can bring.
Thanks, Rob. And so exactly as you said, when there's huge growth in any industry sector, what you tend to find is there's bucket loads of players who want to be in that sector because they can see that there's huge opportunity of growth and a route to making money. And so with so many options and so many choices, what is absolutely critical is finding the right selection of partners, platforms, solutions that align well with you as a brand and your ambitions. Now, at Adyen we have a range of partners, but actually they're carefully selected. We kind of really try and make sure that we're working with the e-commerce platforms that are going to help Adyen deliver the best of our solution. And so we spend a lot of time trying to align our capability with our core platform partners' capability, and then work with the ecosystem of systems integrators and agencies who can then customize that platform and the Adyen solution to deliver success for each individual brand. And so obviously here we've got Deepak from BigCommerce, and BigCommerce are one of our really important tier 1 partners that we spent a lot of time and effort making sure that there's a pre-built integration to BigCommerce that supports the Adyen value proposition. And so that's really good. And we've got a large number of case studies when us and BigCommerce work together. And obviously with We Are Kitty, they're a great company that can help customize the Adyen platform, the BigCommerce solution, to actually ensure that it gives you what you want. And so really the answer for me to the question is making sure that as an online retailer, you're choosing the right partners, and you're choosing them not just for kind of where you are today, where you want to be, and you've got a great relationship, and you've got a way in which you have confidence that you're gonna deliver things. And the fact that it's a path well trodden means that the likelihood of that being a successful project is significantly increased.
Angus, completely. I completely agree. But Rob, I want to go back to your question first, right? So you said something around, I took some notes, it's like naturally in business and in life, right? So let's take a part of life first, right? So then talk about the business. That's a second step. Because if you think about life, you need to be surrounded yourself with a successful and who would be able to give you the guidance of growth and success. And I call it ambitiousness as well, right? So that's basically my life mantra, right? And even if I apply that in business, you need to understand what are the things you need to be thinking about, right? So I always believe that my weakness or my platform weakness should be the strength of the partner, right? So when we talk about you guys, like we are just the enabler, right? We can provide the technology for you and your clients to be successful. And the reason we partner with you is more around that you can add so much more to the customer, understand their customer journey, and provide them the outcome and why they have selected us and why they have selected you. And the same thing for payments. Or if I think about Adyen, like there are 500 million plus, I think, payment solution out in the market, right? Gus will add another few.
You don't need to start listing them out, Deepak. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to list it out, right? But but the reason when we think about that, what is actually we are getting to, and because we are a disruptive player in the market as an e-commerce and open SaaS, and when we think about Adyen and when they provide the unified data, which would become and which is the key key matrix every single retailer should look like. That's why we partner with them. It's not about because we didn't partner with any other payments provider, but when we think about some of the bigger clients working with them, like Ted Baker, I don't know whether I can take the name or not. I've already taken now, but so these are the clients when we talk about that. And what Adyen provides is our weakness. We are not a payments company, and we never want to be payments company. We don't want to penalize any of our customers taking Adyen or taking any other payment solution. So we partner with them. So I think this is very, very relevant. So you can select any e-commerce. I mean, there are millions of e-commerce platforms out in the market, right? But you need to understand that the proximity and the people associated, it's because it's not the technology that makes you successful. It's the support, the ecosystem around that. Are they actually fully integrated? It's not the integration like they have a plugin, like how the connection with people is more important. And I think when I hear about Kitty and working with you and working with Adyen, it's like we have more successes than pain with you guys. There are pains, I would say, but there is more pleasure working with our ecosystem together than any other e-commerce platform. That's the feedback I get from the clients, and which actually makes my day, and that keeps me up all night, keeps me up all morning to say, how can I do more of and reduce that? There is a little bit of pain, reduce that even little. So this is how I see, and this is why they're selecting the partner is the critical part. Take time, invest in the leadership, invest in understanding the system, the ecosystem, and I think then make the decision, because they'll be with them for next 3 to 5 years. So this is how I see.
Excellent. That's really good to hear, and I completely agree. Like for brands, obviously, it's so important to choose the right partners up front and set themselves on the course for success. So yeah, I completely agree, and thank you so much. That's a really, really good answer. Thank you. But Kitty, we found that merchants often experience challenges when they attempt to scale. Be it limits on their current e-commerce platform's capability, or support for foreign languages, or even international transactions. Deepak, how is BigCommerce set up to overcome challenges like those?
Yeah, I mean, so I think the key one, if you think about, so one thing which this is a very very good question. The reason is that because when BigCommerce is there for the last 10, 12 years now. We have 80,000 plus customers. The last 18 months has changed the entire landscape, right? So we are actually working with a lot of brands who are entering into the new market. So Angus would be able to add a little bit more, but what the data we have seen and the data I have read is there are something around 80 million new browsers or people coming onto the website for the first time in the last 18 months, right? So how the brands can reach that, and do we provide the tools to do that? Yes, I mean, multi-store, we have La Perla, we have Ted Baker, a number of other clients who are doing 12, 15 websites. But when you think about this thing, and we also provide multi-currency, multi-settlement with Adyen and all, like we provide all this structure. But why BigCommerce is, why, I mean, I'm not going to sell BigCommerce here, but I think why the companies like us are super, super successful is because of, they don't have to, now the brands come to us and they can be very tactical. I mean, Rob, you can also add to this to say, they can launch a store in, for example, in Vietnam in few days rather than few months, and to test the market and take Adyen as a payment solution because they know about that market. Earlier, I remember I used to run Magento. It used to take 3 to 6 months just to be tactical, right? And now within a week, I can launch a website on BigCommerce. I can have a payment enabled with Adyen, and I can learn about that market and say whether I need to invest another 600,000 there or not there, right? So, but we provide that tools like the multi-currency, multi-enable, multi-storefronts, and all these type of things which are possible. But on top of that, the tactical approach which the brands has to now start thinking about to reach the audience, because the partnerships are there. We have return partnership, we have marketplace partnerships. We just recently acquired Freedonomics to provide all the connections to all the marketplaces globally. But in terms of when you look at the internationalization, there is core markets and there is an emerging markets and there are new markets. Like brands should start thinking about like the new markets will become core and how can they build a brand in the new markets, and using a technology like us and payments so that they can come together and provide that solution. So this is how actually BigCommerce is addressing that and reaching out to some of the bigger brands to say, why don't you don't have to spend 12 months to get into Vietnam just to test it for 3 months. You test it for launch in 1 week and test the market and then invest significantly and take the approach. But we provide all these tools like multi-storefront, multi-currency, multi-settlement, and we have all the payment solutions as well for that. Gus, anything else you wanted to add? Oh, I'm calling you Gus, but I know I should call you Angus. So,
no, you can call me. Hey, I probably should have introduced myself at the beginning and say I'm okay with Gus, but so it's absolutely fine for everybody. I think the thing that I kind of add is when I think about scaling, there's kind of native growth, right? So you've got a business and you want to sell more and you're trying to grow your business domestically. Then there's the growth that could be internationalization. That's, hey, I'm selling well, now I want to sell internationally. And there's actually the thought about growth, can I sell over new channels? And scale can sit across all three of those kind of things. And I was thinking to answer those particular challenges, and again, I don't want to do the selling Adyen, but scale as far as volume of transactions is second nature to us. We're a platform that processed in excess of 200 billion in the first half of this year, and that was a significant increase, which you would expect as a result of lots of transactions pushing online. But we also process transactions in store as well, and so we look after a lot of minutes. So if you are looking to enter into new channels, be that setting up stores and all those kind of things, we built a platform that is a consistent common platform that sits across stores. And also, if you're looking to go internationally, there's the challenges that you have around currencies, but actually probably more important than currencies, or just as important in currencies when you want to kind of expand internationally, is to think about the trends and the way people like to pay and how different that is in different countries. And across the Adyen platform, what we really specialize on is making sure we've got support for all the payment methods that are prevalent in all the countries that you want around the world. So if you did want to sell, for example, in Vietnam, we'll present you with the payment methods that we would advise that you support for processing there. Or if you're in the Netherlands, which is our HQ, we're a Dutch company, ideal is absolutely critical. So depending on where you are, then we start giving advice about how people can optimize to enable them to scale. And so we see our platform as an enabler of scalability, because we can support any volume that anybody can send at us. We can support any channel, and we can support all your internationalization needs, as well as the payment methods, currencies, and all. So
guys, how do you manage the risk associated with the new buyers coming on the sites then? So
so I mean, the obvious scenario you kind of get there is if you've got increased volume, you're going to have increased fraud, right? So that's kind of a simple fact. But increased volume is a good thing, and so the more data you've got, and we have an integral risk management, we call it revenue protect into the platform, and we take it very much a data flow in that, and we have a set of rules that can be customized and configured for each individual merchant. But where you've got more transactions, you've got more data. Now, obviously, if during COVID, there's a new set of customers that previously haven't bought online. So that is going to kind of, within fraud rules, if you've got trusted customers, it's kind of easy. You've seen them before, you know what they're like, you let them through. You've got new customers, you then need to think about what those fraud rules are. And some retailers take a view, so we've got to stop all fraud. That's actually generally pretty dangerous for your business, because you're turning away lots of good transactions if you try and stop all fraud or prevent there from being any chargebacks. So you've got to play a data play to it, and you've got to start building knowledge that enables you to make an educated decision about the likelihood of this transaction being fraudulent, or the likelihood of you turning away a good transaction, and making a balanced decision as to whether each individual transaction is likely to be one that's going to cause you a problem, and accept that an element of fraud or an element of chargebacks is actually positive to your business, because you're not turning away lots of good customers.
And so, and that's a very good point. And Rob, how do you deal with this? Like, somebody comes to you and say you want to launch in, let's say, random market you pick up, right? So how would you kind of address that? Because you are really well-known brand in the UK. So how do you address like the tactical approach of saying, okay, we can launch in Vietnam, but I don't know why we are picking Vietnam, but whatever.
You started it,
Deepak. Start expanding to Vietnam after this webinar, aren't they? It's clearly the place
and it's not exactly a big market either. We should probably choose somewhere else. Let's change it. Where should we call it?
From our point of view, obviously, we look to be able to support, any clients that come our way with their requests, and obviously, quite often we'll use all the expertise that we have and experience that we can lean upon. But then also, it actually ties back into very much what we were saying on the first question about partners. And as much as brands need to choose the right partners to make sure that they succeed, I think that we do as well. Our expertise is not fraud prevention. We are a design and development agency. And so for stuff like that, we obviously heavily lead on partners like Adyen to support us in advising on how best to set up those fraud protection rules, so as to try and make sure that as many genuine transactions get through, while obviously blocking as many of the potentially fraudulent ones that may be there. And obviously, fraud prevention in online transactions is a constantly evolving arena. Just from personal experience, when you're buying stuff online these days, now more often than not, you have to go into the app on your phone to confirm that it is you purchasing online. So things are certainly improving, but to a large part, obviously, we use our existing expertise and knowledge, and then rely on our partners as well to come in and support with keeping us up to speed on that kind of stuff.
And follow-on question is that how do you manage the UX side of thing? That's kind of because BigCommerce can provide you the technologies, and also actually you also do A/B testing, what's working, what's not working, kind of thing. Because it's just getting into a level, because we are actually we have brands who are asking for these new markets. So we are just saying, okay, how exactly we can address that question, because we might not have the experience. The agencies we work with might have, might not. So it's like payments is sorted. Like that's easy, right? It's like but it's all about that design work and all these type of things. So it's kind of it's very critical for the success.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to sort of touch on that, obviously, with the points we made about the fact that the process is changing, and it's been changing a lot recently in terms of the checkout process and the requirement for a second verification via an app or whatever. That's hugely important, and it means that we need to be very much on the ball to try and ensure that the UX journey that a customer experiences as they're going through the checkout is as clear and simple as possible, and also reassuring. If it looks a bit clunky, if it doesn't fit in with the overarching design, look and feel of the site, then instantly consumers can be put off or deterred, because start worrying, is this actually genuine? Is this the correct way to do this payment? What do I need to authorize the app? So by making sure there are clear pointers, sort of signposting users in the right direction to make sure that they know that this is the process, this is why it's happening this way, this is how you can verify it, obviously will have a massive impact on the bottom line of the brands for whom we build websites. So UX is imperative when things are changing like this. Well, it's always imperative, but even more so when processes change, and you need to reassure online consumers that they're doing the right thing. This is the correct process, and this is for their security.
That's great.
Awesome. We've touched on it a few times here, but with COVID and Brexit kind of creating disruption across logistics and fulfillment, brands need to ensure that their e-com strategy is heading into peak. consider all possible pain points. So effective partners can deliver a lot of the legwork. Angus, from your perspective, what should brands be looking out for?
I think, as I said, we've covered a fair bit of this already, and COVID drove a lot of transactions online, and we saw a very significant shift of transactions into an online world. But we're actually also seeing people still want to desire to interact with brands physically in store as well. And so one of the things that we've been talking to lots of retailers is trying to keep this kind of world of unified commerce being an integral part of a successful retailing experience. And with the inability to visit stores for a long period of time, people are actually kind of quite excited about the prospect of seeing stores. And actually some of the data that we sees that a shopper that spends both online and in store will spend on average twice that of a shopper that shops by a single channel. And so if you know bits of data around those kind of things, and you've got this kind of desire of people to have these interactions with your brand across lots of environments, you can start doing things that encourage that kind of behavior. And little things like returns, being able to buy something online and return it in store and put it back on the same payment method of the original transaction might actually mean that someone's going to come into the store. And when someone comes into the store, they'll do a bit of browsing, they might end up buying things. And so encouraging those kind of journeys and enabling people to interact. And for the same thing, is buy in store, but actually return online. And just having the ability to interact with a brand as we kind of come out of COVID in all sorts of different ways will bring a much closer relationship with your customers and incremental spend. So I think there are pain points. There's the fraud. We did a survey, and I think retailers said 40% of retailers said their fraud increased. But actually, if you ask them, they'll all say that their volume of transactions increased. Well, of course, their fraud's going to increase if their volume of transactions. So don't be scared by some of these kind of things, and see opportunity where there's pain or where there's challenges. And so I think just thinking about how we can do things better as we come out of COVID, or what the shifts and the changes in behaviors from COVID that we can take forward and say, actually, this is the way we should have been doing it all along. And so making sure that those people who bought online for the first time because of COVID actually now feel comfortable with, hey, you know what, that works. I felt quite comfortable with that. Encourage that to happen. I think you said right up front that was it 37.1% was the online. Pre-COVID, it was around 15% of transactions were online. That's a massive increase. I don't see it ever going back to 15%. It's going to stay much higher than it's ever been, because people enjoy that kind of. So embrace that and make sure that we're really thinking about it as a proportional amount of the business that retailers are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think I just wanted to add to this, because I'm thinking about that with the logistic challenges which we are facing now. I don't know, Gus, whether you were in the queue a couple of weeks ago to get your petrol filled for 2 hours. I was, and I realized that it's just a start of a massive change which is going to happen in the next few months. And I think the first thing I would definitely request all the retailers to start thinking about the inventory, right? So they have, because this is the start. If the customer would not be able to order the product, they're going to get the bad reviews, and then obviously the customer service will get impacted, and a lot of things will going to happen, right? So that's what we need to do, to say, do the inventory checks first. I mean, we've just released a peak season holiday guide. Just download it. I'll send you the link if you want afterwards. Rob, you can share it with the team, but it's kind of we have listed out major things which has happened just because of the COVID. The inventory checklist, the customer experience has to be seamless, and when you commit on delivery, make sure it does happen on the timelines you are committing on, right? So, and obviously every single retailer gets excited about promotions, but make sure that you have the products to serve before you start the promotion side of thing, right? So, and then you think about that when you're, the payments is the most important thing, right? I mean, if you're working with another payment provider, just this is the time now you have for the next couple of weeks is to make sure that you do the optimization of that, because if you're not working with the right solution, then it will impact the conversion rate, it will increase the fraud, and it will drive less kind of a revenue for your team. And best thing, which the most important thing which you need to think about, as Gus mentioned a number of times, is the fraud, right? There would be fraudulent transactions, and do you have the right, or the key one is that, because some of the retailers I've spoken with, they said they have a third-party tools, but they don't have enabled in the payment solution. And I just say that that's good, but why don't you have a double checks, right? I mean, it's better to have a payment solution, like Gus mentioned, that they provide end-to-end stack, plus a third-party tool if you want. So there is no problem with that, but you're super secure, and you want to make sure that the transactions are valid and you're making revenue, because when you get the return, it costs you more money than just the revenue. So I think this is where the checklist will provide you all the detailed information, but I think start with the inventory, then don't get excited about the promotions yet, but definitely think about whatever you have, you would be able to serve the existing customers before you start acquiring the new ones. And I think, and the customer experience should be seamless. And I know that there is a lot of challenges are happening at the moment, but I think you need to start thinking now, not just the day before when you have your, the sale on. So
yeah, don't leave it too late.
Yeah, just to add to the customer experience side of things, and in my opportunity to plug our report. So we've done a report on the expectation gap, which is primarily between what consumers expecting and what retailer is delivering. And I think one thing that came clear on that is actually the consumer's expectations on some of the customer journeys are greater than some of the retailers' ambitions to deliver on those customer journeys at the moment. And so, by means, download the report and have a look at that. So the answer for that is around choosing the right partners that have the capability to be where you want to be in 2-3 years' time, or where your consumers want you to be to deliver those customer journeys. So choosing the right e-commerce platform, payment provider, and consulting organization to support you in being where you're going to want to be is really integral to making sure that expectation gap is as narrow as it possibly can be, and you're able to deliver on the journeys that your customers are expecting.
Absolutely, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it sums it up very nicely, doesn't it? And so thank you for that. Just a quick message to everyone that's sort of tuned in today. We've got a few questions that we're going to run through now that have come through since we started. But if anyone has any other questions that they'd like to ask the panel, please pop them into the comments section, and we'll try and answer as many of them as we can. I will just dive into the first question. What key features or factors should brands consider in their strategy to scale and pursue international expansion? Off the top of my head, I can think of some obvious examples in terms of ensuring that they're able to take local currencies and make the journey as painless as possible in every market they look to reach out to. But Angus, perhaps you've got some thoughts around that.
Yeah, so I mean, we like to say that we solved the payment part of that challenge pretty well, but it's not just payment that needs to be there. So, I mentioned earlier, we support lots of payment methods, lots of currencies, and we can help with all the fraud side of things. But there are other aspects that you need to think about. And there's obviously logistics, how do you actually get product to people when you're selling internationally? And then there's tax implications, and there's language implications. So there's a whole range of different things. And I know that Deepak has an array of partners that can help support a number of those, and we address the payment part of that challenge. But there are other things that you need to factor in. But that's where it comes back to that message, is finding the right partners before you need them that will give you that opportunity to expand is the important thing. And BigCommerce have an ecosystem of partners that address some of those particular challenges, because they've got this singular commerce platform like we do for the globe.
Deepak, anything to add to that?
Yes, 100%. So I think the most important thing when you're thinking about the expansion is the time to market, right? You want to be relevant when you launch in that market. So make sure that whatever selection, whether you select us, whether you select any other platforms or payment provider, but time to market is very critical, because there are certain times you have when you can launch and you can see a massive impact. But if you're thinking about this to launch in 2025, please go with Hybris and Magento. I'm not worried about that, but I think that's why we are very, very successful in terms of the how you can go quickly and faster in the market. And with the integrations we have with likes of Adyen, you can enable it in less than 24 hours, right? And you can start taking payments. And with the SMB proposition of Adyen, like you can have instant onboarding pretty much, right? So I think this is why we are actually, when we think about partnership, it is so critical that can we make our customers and merchants successful and at a faster pace, because it's moving so fast. The e-commerce is in the fifth digital transformation era right now, and what we are seeing is that if you slow down, then you're going to miss out the opportunities which you could have had right now. So I think that's what I would say. Time to market is very critical. The rest of the pieces can be covered, but if you have made the decision, it should not be. If you made the decision, start executing quickly instead of just getting into the ideation mode.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, completely agree. Another question we've received then. How has your product development focus changed since the COVID-19 pandemic?
Shall I go? I'm happy to go first on that one. One of the great things about Adyen is we have an agile mindset. So we have this thing called the Adyen formula, which is a whole set of kind of things that we believe in as an organization. One of them is launch fast and iterate, which basically means we're really keen and agile and want to adapt quickly to any changes that occur within the market. The other thing that really helps us with that is fundamentally we just have one platform. We only have one product. So every one of our customers is on a singular platform, which means we don't have lots of different things that we have to change when we want to innovate and when we want to adapt and we want to do things. So that kind of gives us a really good framework in which we can react and change. Now, as far as actually development, there were a couple of specific features for retailers that we kind of did launch during the COVID time period, and I'll pick on one that I suppose might be relevant. But because we look after things from omnichannel perspective, we had quite a lot of retailers who had physical stores, and we looked after their online transactions as well. And their store staff had their kind of little black books of customers, high net worth customers who they sold to and those kind of things. And all of a sudden, these store associates had no ability to actually interact with their customers. And a lot of them, over time, found an opportunity to start doing Zoom, Teams calls with their shoppers in a personal shopping type experience, whilst they're kind of in store, and then actually sending them to a link, and so actually performing an e-commerce payment for a sale where someone's actually been showing them the products and goods whilst they've been around the store. And actually what that shows is there's actually this kind of desire for people to still get some of that experience, but showing some flexibility to merge between the two different channels, between the physical and the online channel, to give that video face-to-face experience, but still enable a purchase when someone can't put a card in the card machine via a link that they were able to send to them, which was then an online link that they, and then it has to connect in with the e-commerce logistics to actually get the products out, or those kind of things. So showing that agility to do those kind of things was really cool, and we saw quite a large proportion of our retail brands get really excited by that and saw that they could react to that changing need in the market.
That sounds pretty awesome, almost like a hybrid shopping experience, if you like.
Exactly, yeah.
So it feels like it could really be sort of a route that some retailers who have certain products that maybe don't work as well for online retail could start to leverage that, so that customers can really get that sort of one-to-one sort of in-store experience at the same time as actually having the convenience of shopping from their sofa at home or whatever it may be.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, also from our perspective, also we've launched our multi-store environment, as you know, Rob. So that's very critical because we understand that merchants would be looking to expand internationally pretty fast. And the second thing is that we've also done a massive acquisition in the last couple of months ago, which is the Feedonomics one, where we are enabling our merchants to be more successful by connecting them with all the marketplaces globally. So that's, and also at the same time, what Feedonomics can provide is the data insight, right? So that we want to be actually the data-rich e-commerce platform for our merchants, so that they'll be able to learn and expand faster with BigCommerce. So this is the two things. I mean, there are a number of other. I can go through the roadmap. I think everyone will go off to sleep then. But these are the key important aspects we have done. And also, one thing again, Gus will buy me a coffee afterwards. But we've just done SME proposition with Adyen, which means is that we want actually even the smaller segment of the merchants to go live faster with the Adyen SME proposition out in the market. And I think we were one of the first platforms who enabled that, so that anyone can start taking money with all the multi-currencies enabled, with all the APMs pretty fast. So we are covering the enterprise space, mid-market, and with Adyen, we want to be one platform to serve all the segments. And I think Adyen also wants to be the one platform one payments provider to serve all the segments, online, offline. And we are actually being a strategic partner of that as well. So I think these are the kind of key initiatives and partnership we have done over the last few months and years since pandemic.
I think you've earned that coffee, Deepak.
Let me know, I'll join you.
So is it like the virtual gift card you're going to send me now? Is it?
We've just got a couple more questions, and then we better think about wrapping up, just a bit conscious of time. So do you see the current growth of popularity with Headless CMS continuing? And can brands consider this if they're looking to launch quickly? That's a really interesting question. I know that obviously BigCommerce has got a Headless solution in place. It's quite new off the shelf, I believe, but it's looking really cool. Deepak, can you tell us more?
Absolutely. I mean, so the main thing is that I was actually talking to one of our prospects or a merchant in kind of in the Middle East, and he was talking. I mean, we were actually came from a similar background, and we were talking in 2010. There was a buzzword called omnichannel, and if you remember, Gus and Rob, like if you go to a retailer and just say, "Oh, we will make you an omnichannel or a multi-channel," we provide all the tools, and you'll just tick box, right? You just say this is. They know what they're talking about. So I think in the last couple of years, there are, I think in the last 18 months or so, there's a new word came up as we are a part of Mac Alliances, like microservice architecture and API and cloud and headless, right? So we are microservice architecture. We are actually on Google Cloud. We are headless. So the key one is that, and then there are a couple of other terms in the next couple of months you'll see is composable commerce, uniform commerce, this commerce, that commerce. So I think that's going to happen. But the answer to your question, there is a lot of popularity. What exactly Headless does is to make the page load faster, because you are actually making sure the front end is completely decoupled from the back end, so there is no dependencies, right? So, and Adyen is a headless payment solution as well. So when you think about this thing that you're decoupling the entire, like the elements of e-commerce, and you're making that a complete different segment so that everyone doesn't have to relate to another one, and you can make changes to the front end or the back end or the payment solution faster than ever. So this is an investment you make for the future growth of your business. I think can I consider it this? I'm looking to, yes, the answer is yes, because there are so many connections now we have built with the Headless, from Contentful to Content Stack to Bloomreach, and all these. Uniform is one of our strategic partner. They already have the connection, so you can keep that separated and you can be live faster. It used to be different a couple of years ago, but now they are fully integrated into BigCommerce, and you would be able to get this website live, but it would not be in weeks for sure. I promise you that, it would be still months, but it's not going to be like 6 months, or it could be less than 3 months. You would be able to, because of the integrations and the partnership we have built. But Headless, if you're thinking about this, think about this as a future growth of the organization, not now. I know that this is, as I said, it's a fancy word right now. From smallest of the retailer to the enterprise, they want to talk about this thing. But if you really understand it, you're just making an investment in the future. It's basically buying a piece of land, and you can make sure that everything is separated. It's not going into a concierge services where you can just get everything and you can't move things around. So I think you can build your structure the way you want. I think And that's the way you need to look at headless. But it's I think the brands feel if they're serious about their growth, they should start thinking about this as a microservice architecture with BigCommerce or with other players in the market, and especially with the payment solutions as well, because this is very critical. Because if the payments would not going to work, that's going to be a biggest challenge. Then there is no commerce.
Mm-hmm. Anything to add, Angus, or?
I think from our perspective, I think it really is to echo what Deepak just said. Is it's a commitment to a technology architecture going down the headless route. If you want e-commerce in a box, and and this is where I find that the question's kind of difficult. Launch quickly. There is e-commerce in a box which will get you live really, really quickly, but you won't get it your way. So if you want to really be able to curate your customer journey and have complete control of it, and kind of really make sure you're creating your own unique, headless is the right way to go. But I think if you want to be live next week, headless is not the way to go. And so I wouldn't ever put headless. If your desire is to launch quickly, headless probably isn't the right solution. If your desire is to give a specific customer journey to your shoppers, and you want to own it, manage it, curate it on an ongoing basis, and you've got the desire to look after it and water that and feed that on an ongoing basis, headless is the right way to go. But it's not always right for everybody.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It makes a lot of sense. Obviously, it will take longer, in my opinion, to build a headless solution than you being able to use the sort of solution straight out of the box. It should be something that's probably a bit more of a considered plan and approach. Also, probably needs a bit more thought going into the UX and the design phases as well. That in turn also adds to that development time. That said, it's an amazing new opportunity moving forward that I think brands should certainly look into and consider. I think we've got one more question, and then I think we better wrap up. What new features or products do BigCommerce and Adyen have in the pipeline that we should know about? Who would like to take that one first?
I can take so. It's actually quite different. We got loads of big things happening in Adyen, and we're kind of in the process of doing a little bit of repositioning Adyen from being a payments platform to a financial technology platform. And so there's a whole heap of new big financial technology stuff that we're working on. But I'm not sure how specifically appropriate those kind of capabilities are to kind of an online retailer. We're always adding payment methods. We're always expanding our acquiring reach, so that the regions and the geographies that we can deliver our acquiring services. We've added the capability to issue cards in recently. So there's a huge amount of innovation that's happening in the platform. I think the big thing for us is, and I think Deepak mentioned it earlier, is committing to the partnerships like the one we have with BigCommerce, and making sure that the integrations, the pre-built integrations we have with them, work for the SMB sector, the mid-market sector, the enterprise sector, and that we've got those features and functionalities that enable us to sell the value of Adyen, that over and above a standard payment provider, are built into those integrations, so that we can really deliver on those experiences that the shoppers want, both online, in-store, and mobile, and any other channel they want to work on. So I know that wasn't sort of specific on the individual features, but there's I don't know, and we don't kind of list out features and deliver a roadmap as such. That's kind of not in our culture to do that kind of stuff. We tend to be looking more kind of general shifts in moving the industry and the market in a particular direction.
Yeah, from our perspective, Rob, you are aware that obviously our TikTok partnerships. So we are actually trying to make our customer provide our merchants one-stop shop, right? So that they will be able to connect to all the marketplaces. They can reach out to international audiences. So there is a and also multi is such an important aspect. Headless is such a critical one for us as well, so that we'll be able to provide that journey. And I think this is the question which you asked just before: can we launch quickly with Headless? And I think I'm going to take it to the product team to say, okay, what are the timelines you think if you select uniform or content stack or anything like that? What are the timelines ideal scenario would look like? So I think there's a lot of investment happening in the product and a lot of investment happening in the kind of a partnership side of thing, because we are expanding in international markets now, and just wanted to make sure that we provide the tools and technologies and everything for not just for European, but across the globe, right? So we have merchants selling in 150 plus countries. So we want to make sure that we have the product ready for those countries as well when we launch in that market. So there is a lot of investment happening.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to hearing more about it in the future. Great. Well, in summary then, I think that the key takeouts are that the brands need to choose their e-commerce partners wisely, establish and maintain a relationship moving forward to stay ahead of the game. We obviously can't predict the future, so choosing partners that can support your brand, whichever direction it may take, is really important. And with e-commerce especially, trust is essential. I think that's something that mustn't be forgotten. Choosing partners that are established and respected and able to continue supporting you as your brand grows. And as Angus said, I think choose the suppliers according to where you want to be, not where you are now. I think is a really, really important thing to consider as well. Obviously, we're all looking to grow our respective brands and businesses, and we need to aim high. Thank you everybody for joining us today. If you'd like to discuss any of today's topics any further and get any specific advice or support for your brand, please reach out to me. My email is rob.knight@tpgroup.com or find me on LinkedIn. Thank you very much everybody, and I hope you all have a lovely day. Thank you Deepak, thank you Angus.
Thank you Rob.
Look forward to speaking with you both again soon.
And Angus, I'll wait for my coffee voucher.
Yeah, I'll send it.
I have one too.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.